Well, I'm standing here in Paramaribo, my hometown, on the northern coast of South America, and I'm going to tell you something about my film, My Nights with Susan, Olga, Albert, Julie, Bill, and Sandra. That was the original title of this Dutch film, shot exactly 45 years ago near a farmhouse at the IJsselmeer in Holland. I have made some notes here so that I can tell you what happened when we made the movie. I tried to make this movie already back in exactly 50 years ago, 1969, and I had a mainly British cast of young actors, but I could not get the money. So I waited until I was rich because of movies like Blue Movie, Obsessions, and Frank and Eva living apart together. When this movie was shot, the shooting started on Alfred Hitchcock's birthday, August the 13th of 1974. The picture was shot on Techniscope, which is a sort of cinemascope with an aspect ratio of 1 to 2.22. And I originally wanted another actor for the main lead. I wanted Rutger Hauer. And I had a meeting with him, but he did not like the way I wanted to introduce the main character. I had in mind of the main character being seen by the crazy woman in the story falling from the air in a parachute. And you then see the man who falls down taking off the parachute and walking towards a nearby farm where then the story would start. And Mr. Rutger Hauer, he did not like the idea of his character coming out of nowhere. Whereas, especially that, I thought was a splendid idea. Anyhow, after he did not play the part, I found someone else, a Dutch actor called Hans van der Gracht. And it was my second film with actress Willeke van Amelrooy. I said to her, we'll now make a movie where you don't have to be naked all the time. And the screenplay was made by me and my Scottish writer, co-writer Charles Gormley. And on the credits you can see that there's also an American name on, David Kaufman. He was suggested to me by René Daalder. I also asked to collaborate with me on the screenplay the Belgian actor Harry Kummel. Um, the movie was designed to be shot in 17 days of shooting, and at that time I was together with my partner, a prolific film producer, thanks to the success we had with the film Blue Movie, which made us millionaires. My director of photography was Frans Bromet, but on the first day of shooting, he made an almost deadly accident with his car. So on the second day, I had to ask his assistant, Mark Velpelaan to continue the movie as a DOP. So Mark Velpelaan made his debut as a director of photography of a feature film. At that time, uh, Scorpio Films, my company, was heading for bankruptcy. And this was actually the last movie by Scorpio Film, which where we were secured that we could pay everybody. I wanted Bernard Herrmann, who had written the score for Obsessions, the famous Bernard Herrmann. I wanted him to do the score for My Nights with Susan, Olga, Albert, Julie, Bill, and Sandra. But he said to me, Pim, you know that you can't afford my fee, but I will suggest you another composer. And he then brought me in contact with the English female film composer Elizabeth Lutyens, who did a wonderful score. And I vividly recall when I went with production manager Frans Rasker to London for the recording at the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, of the musical score she has written. We were sitting there in the studio with 40 members of the London Philharmonic and the London Symphony Orchestra. But the manager wanted to know if we had the cash to pay for these musicians. So it was a time when I could afford something like 45,000 Dutch guilders just to pay for the musical score of a movie. After that, I made for Scorpio Films One People, and that meant big trouble, and that was the last film I made for Scorpio Films. The two girls in the story, the wild girls who murdered the American in the story, were no professional actresses. You did not have at that time, 1974, in Holland, trained very young actresses who would be prepared to go naked in a movie to play these two wild characters. So I had to choose amateur actresses. They play the parts of Olga and Sandra. As the spirit of the times, there was a 1974, it was the time of the so-called sexual revolution. And bear in mind, when you see the film, that it is the area before AIDS. AIDS was not known at that time. It wasn't there. And especially in the northern part of Europe, especially in Holland, there was a vivid sexual revolution going on. And the relationships between men and women were much looser than nowadays. The character who plays the crazy woman is a famous Dutch actress called Nelly Vrijda. For viewers among you who know some other Dutch films, she plays Mother Flodder in a movie by Dick Maas, Flodder. Her character stems from her appearance in this movie. We had 17 shooting days, and the budget was around $500,000 Dutch guilders. After this movie, I shot One People, which had 70 shooting days, but on that movie, one people, I went bankrupt. Um, yeah, this film in Holland, known as My Nights with Susan, Olga, Albert, Julie, Bill, and Sandra, was highly successful in Europe. It was sold to over 70 countries, but the title has been shortened, and in some countries it was entirely changed because people found the title too long. Susan, Olga, Albert, Julie, Bill, and Sandra. Uh, Also in your release, film will have a slightly shorter title, but it's still the same movie. Um, I'm sure you will get thrilled by scenes in it, but please don't forget it's just a small movie from a small country, and I am also a very small man, as you can see. Thanks for your attention.